Hey guys, welcome back to week 3 of Hope. Today we're going to explore how this fast-paced, busy life we lead can keep us from experiencing the peace, joy, and hope that God intended for all of us. In our culture, we tend to wear our busyness and jam-packed schedules as a badge of honor. But when it comes to our relationships, we tell ourselves that it's not the quantity of time that matters, but the quality of time. It reminds me of a story of a young father who realized he had not been spending as much time with his girls as he wanted. After apologizing to them, he said, it's not always as important the quantity of time we spend together as it is the quality of time we spend together. Well, his daughters were only 4 and 6 years old, so they didn't really understand what he meant. So he tried to explain. Quantity means how much time, and quality means how good those times are. Which would you rather have? Not missing a beat, his 6-year-old said, "Quality time, and a lot of it." Well, her response illustrates one of the major problems with our fast-paced lives. Relationships suffer when we're too busy. Our relationship with the people we love, and certainly our relationship with God, suffers. Let's take a look at how this principle plays out in Scripture. In the Gospel of Luke, we're told of a time when Jesus visited some very close friends named Mary and Martha. Verse 38 tells us, as Jesus and his disciples were on their way, he came to a village where a woman named Martha opened her home to him. So let me pause here to give you a little of the backstory. Martha and her sister Mary were close friends with Jesus. In fact, they were the sisters of Lazarus, the man Jesus raised from the dead. So needless to say, they had a very close friendship with Jesus. In other words, let me explain it this way. You have what you could call casual level friendships, where you kind of wave to your neighbor or have a short conversation with a coworker in the break room. And then you have refrigerator rights friendships, where you're close enough to someone, they don't mind you grabbing something right out of their fridge without asking. Listen, you have to be pretty good friends to feel comfortable enough to get into someone's refrigerator. But then you have raised my brother from the dead level friendships. Well, that's a whole new level of friendship, and that's what Mary and Martha had with Jesus. Let's read on in verse 39. She had a sister called Mary who sat at the Lord's feet listening to what he said. But Martha was distracted by all the preparations that had to be made. She came to him and asked, "Lord, don't you care that my sister has left me to do the work by myself? Tell her to help me." So Martha is the older sister, and she's a bit bossy, and yet she's a doer. She knows how to get things done. If a dozen people were to show up unexpectedly for dinner, not a problem. Martha would make it happen. But what was true for Martha is true for us as well. The busier we get, the more we try to control our environment. With our jobs and our activities and our kids' sports, we become masters at controlling our environments and the people in our environments. And this seems to work great until it doesn't. And when it doesn't, we get angry and we get impatient because we are wound so tightly and scheduled so precisely that we don't have time for things not going according to our plan. So when Martha's sister does not display the same sense of urgency with the meal preparation that Martha feels, Martha has had it, and she lets Jesus know it. So let's look at how Jesus responds in verse 41. "Martha, Martha," the Lord answered, "you are worried and upset about many things, but few things are needed, or indeed only one. Mary has chosen what is better, and it will not be taken away from her." The thing that I want you to see here is that busyness causes us to miss what matters most. Martha has Jesus in the flesh in her living room, and yet she's so distracted with her work in the kitchen. Listen, she is so focused on preparations for Jesus that she misses the presence of Jesus. But you know what, guys? As easy as it is to be critical of Martha, we can be guilty of doing the very same thing. We allow our relationships to take a back seat to our to-do list. And like Martha, we fail to choose the better thing. When Jesus says, "Martha, Martha," I imagine him saying her name with a mix of gentleness and love and concern. I imagine him using a tone that says, "Martha, Martha, I love you. I care for you. But you are missing the point right now. You are so busy doing stuff for me that you're missing time with me." There are only 2 other times in Scripture where Jesus uses a person's name twice. And one of those times is when Jesus warned Simon Peter that he will deny him 3 times. Peter had been arguing over who was the greatest disciple and was confident that he would die for Jesus before he would deny him. But Jesus knew that Peter was focused on the wrong things. He too was missing it. So Jesus says to him, "Simon, Simon, Satan has asked to sift each of you like wheat, but I have prayed for you that your faith may not fail." Again, can you hear the care and concern in the way Jesus corrects Peter? The other time that Jesus uses the name twice is when he confronts Saul on the road to Damascus. Jesus says from heaven, "Saul, Saul, why do you persecute me?" And it was in this moment that Saul meets the risen Lord, and he goes from somebody persecuting Christians to one of the greatest evangelists of all time. Prior to his encounter with Jesus, Saul had missed the point as well. He had succeeded in religion, but missed Jesus altogether. So I wonder what Jesus might be saying to us today if he were to use our name twice, like he did with Martha, Peter, and Saul. If you've not done so already, open your participant's guide to this week's video notes and write your name twice where it indicates to do so. I want us to take a moment to let God speak to us in this area of busyness in our lives. If Jesus were to use your name twice with a mixture of love and concern and say, "My dear child, you're so busy with this thing that you're missing this," so what would he say to you? Perhaps he would say, "You're so busy worrying about controlling your environment that you're missing the joy I have for you." Or would he say, "You're so busy trying to climb the corporate ladder that you're missing your family?" Whatever he might say to you, I'd like for you to take a moment and write down what God is laying on your heart. Go ahead and do that right now. You know, this area of busyness is a constant challenge in the world that we live. It's been said that if Satan can't make us bad, he'll make us busy. Thankfully, we have each other to help keep us centered and focused on what matters the most. Okay, guys, so I want to give you some time to once again connect with your group, and I look forward to seeing you back again next week.